Hariom Amma and Hariom Narendra ji. To my left is Mr. Naidu ji and his Mrs. Sunita Naidu ji, and to my right is Mr. Narendra Naidu ji, and later on his sister Sadhana ji also will be joining us. Now, but first let us listen from Mr. Naidu ji, his teenage memories with Pujya Gurudev.
Ganesh Temple was just near my house. So there, in those days, they used to give a very sumptuous prasad after Arati.
Okay.
So sometimes my elder brother used to go, then myself used to go, and sometimes my younger brother. So that day it was my turn to go and get the prasad. And after getting the prasad, we used to distribute everybody in the house and eat it. So I went to get the prasad and to attend the Arati. So instead of getting the prasad and listening to the Arati, I saw a very handsome, thin man with lotus eyes, and he was talking in English. Actually, I studied in a Marathi medium school. But at home, our father used to take a good English for my elder brother as well as all of us. So we were interested in the English language. Okay. So I was listening to that English, waiting for prasad to get. But I don't know how much time I went on. I was just looking at the orator and his eyes and his saffron clothes, because saffron clothes was altogether a new thing for me in those days. Okay. So I was fascinated, got the prasad, came home. Second day I went thinking, but again the lecture was there. Okay. So I don't know, for those days actually he was talking in English. And on the very first day I remember, I can count the figures which I can count on my hands, not more than 8 to 10 people were inside. So then I went on, I don't know, somewhere I was magnetically drawn to the temple since that time. And daily I used to go only to listen to his English, because those days I was not knowing anything about Upanishad or Gita or anything. But his personality. And then the crowd started swelling. The whole temple was full. Then just in front of the temple, it was a small lane. The people were sitting on the road. Okay. And the loudspeaker arrangement was made. Those days was typical loudspeaker. And within a week, near the temple, there is just a road, then again there is a ballad. So people started coming and sitting on the road and listening, because those days there were no tarpaulins or satrangi or anything. And it's a wonderful thing. I still remember that my brother-in-law, he was a second lieutenant in the army. He used to stay at Gorpadi, nearly 6 to 8 miles away from the temple. He used to come on cycle from there to listen to Gurudev's lecture. And along with many other army officers used to come, squat legs down on the ground. And they used to listen to Gurudev. And then I remember the things which he has started later on, we can say, the meditation and all. It was right from the beginning. As the crowd started swelling up. So previously we used to have a square type of clocks. So that type of one thing was there. The total background was black, and that glass, which was a milky glass, behind that there was a bulb. So only we could see the Om. Okay. After his lecture, the lights were put off, and only we could see the Om, and he used to take the meditation. It is since then he has started.
Right from the first Upanishad? Right
from the first Upanishad, which I remember very well. And then I wanted to go and get inside the temple, and we used to do the meditation. That still I remember. Even I can show you the place where he was staying. From there, when he used to come, I used to wait on the road and see. He used to shoot like an arrow. And then he used to walk down distance. And he had those sandals, khadao, the typical sound. Yeah. And just like an army officer, very majestic walk. He used to, but those days he was very lean and thin. And the only thing was his eyes. And he used to come to the temple. And dot 6:30 used to start. The same time. Timing, he was very particular since that time. And he was very particular about those all discipline which we feel now, coming late and all those things. It was even not that at time. For me, one other thing was there, though I studied in a Marathi medium school, his English fascinated me. And another best of the thing was this, day to day everything whatever is to happen in the city, or those examples he used to take in his. Now I clearly remember one those days, Gone with the Wind was a very famous picture of Clark Gable. So he took that story and he converted into, but how he converted what I don't know. But another thing which I remember is this, that he started his 31st December, so January we can say. March is to be SSC examination. So in SSC examination on that day, algebra paper, there was one particular sum. As we generally we know, a square minus b square is a plus b, a minus b. He took that sum. Today's SSC board, those days it was matriculation. So he solved that sum and he explained total Upanishad, those days whatever he was taking, Kan Upanishad, but I could only understand the question of algebra, not the other things which he has taught. But that is the way he used to do it even in those days. And then from there, if I want to bring you to the present thing, when he had recently his talks in New English School, Pune. So there was a Marathi picture released by Dada Konti. So it was, the name of the picture was Tumcha Amcha Jamla. Tumcha Amcha Jamla means that they used to put anuswar. Amcha means actually it should be Tumche Amche Jamle. So काय भाषांतर सांगू शकशील राजा? So he, because of that dot, anuswar, he used to say Tumchan Amchan Jamlan. And that example he took, and how a man goes out of city and how he feels, and again he feels like to come into city and enjoy the Tumchan Amchan Jabla. Typical Maharashtrian pronunciation he did. And he narrated that how you have to come back to this from where you have come. So that is the example he took.
So what exactly does that entire
correct me. Narendra सांगू शकशील तू तुमचं आमचं जमलं.
तुमचं आमचं जमलं means now we are together, we are bonded. It's like a hero saying to his heroine.
Hero sending to heroine. कि yourself and अभी अपना हो गया, तुम्हारा और मेरा हो गया, ऐसा था. And that is the example. And another example.
Here I would like to pause you for a minute. You know, this particular incident, which Guruji told me recently when we were sitting together. So when Gurudev was going in the car, Purushotmananji was there with Gurudev. So he read that and he said, "What does that mean?" And Purushotmananji was feeling very shy.
Yes. You're right.
So what exactly does I fell in love with you?
Yes.
So means yours, mine, we are bonded.
Okay.
Your love and my love is bonded.
It is.
And it is true that Purushottananda and myself, we used to sit exactly at the back. This is a recent story.
Right.
But earlier story I will remember. One day, which I remember very well, and means when Gurudev came to our house, I shared this incident with him also. And this example, he laughed a lot. That example that day, in those school days, what I understood was, one day when I went to lecture, he started doing that. If you are going to race, continue going to the race. If you are gambling, continue go to the gambling. All those vices which we know, he was telling. Especially that day he has given a very good description about the horse race.
Okay.
So how the horse races people they come, how they play the races, how they get the money, how from Bombay people come to Pune for the race, how there was a race special train. There is to be a race special train from Bombay to Pune. So they have to compulsory purchase a return ticket. Okay. This is what I heard from Gurudev. Okay. And return ticket, because though you have lost everything at Pune race, you can go back to Bombay. That's why the return ticket was given. So he has described all these things. Then he described about not only that, then the races, they start at Bangalore, main cities. Yeah. So how a bookie from Pune gives the money for the race. All those race things he has narrated. We were thinking, क्या हो रहा है आज Upanishad नहीं. Actually, I was a school day, but then it was something interesting for the race and all.
But see, that is the greatness of Gurudev.
Correct.
If he had to bring the knowledge to a common man, he came to common man and imagine you were a teenager.
Correct.
You did not know the language.
I still remember that day, the gambling, the way they shuffle the cards. He did such a fine action of shuffling the cards and that spreading of the cards. And all those things he described. And then he said, please don't leave your vices.
Okay.
Please don't leave your vices. हमको लगा है क्या चल रहा है? Please don't leave. Then he said, if you want to leave the vices, you cannot leave the vices. Then he took the example of spittoon. Spittoon, you spit and all other things. How do you clean the spittoon? He asked all the spectators. You just take the spittle, you don't put your hand inside that and clean it. You open the tap, the fresh water falls into that, all the dirt goes out, and finally stage comes when there is only clean water in the spittle.
Yeah.
Then you take it like that. Don't leave your bad habits. Cultivate good habits. The bad habits will automatically go.
Wow.
This was the impact on me when I was hardly 16 or 16 and a half years old. I was in Air Force. I am a totally teetotaler. No drink, no smoke, nothing. This is the example. Until now it continues, and it continues in my generation also.
Fantastic. I mean, that is why I said, generations together it will pass on. As a teenager, Gurudev had molded you, and that you have given it
Correct.
to the family. It's
And his
amazing.
hardships, I still remember that wherever he used to go for Viksha, those days he used to go for Viksha walking only. There, I remember when Jaybala Gujar, she used to stay in Raivar Peth, just addition to that. He used to go to her house and come back in the hot sun, walking up to the Rastha Peth's house. So everywhere in the Viksha he used to go on.
So
foot.
those days only he would go for Bhikshas.
Viksha, yes. Wherever he was called, he used to go.
Okay.
And those days the people used to go after भिक्षा को कुछ तो भी देना पड़ता है सन्यासी को तो they used to give that typical that those days it was called as a manjar part and now as it is long cloth. It was a very coarse cloth. Long cloth is a purely white. It is never used to be white. It used to be little bit greyish. So those cloth when they used to give, he used to himself to put it into gerua and color it. He himself used to do it. And those days he used to come to my auntie's place. She was looking after one chowdhury by name Anandama Dharmashala, which was only meant for the South Indian travelers or sadhus and sannyasis. So there we had a Akhanda Kirtan. So daily in the evening after his talk he used to come for that Akhanda Kirtan, sit for a while, and I still remember that tone. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Gurudev used to do that?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This was the thing. So in that chowdhury, the bucket which I had, I like to describe, see the difficulties Gurudev has faced those days. That the bucket was leaking. So वो लीकिंग बकेट को हमारे आंटी ने वो जो कपड़ा रहता उसको ट्विस्ट करके उसमें अंदर डाला था उसमें गुरुदेव पानी वो गुरुदेव का दैट पीस इज टू बी देयर गेरू ही इज टू पुट दैट वो कपड़ा उसमें करने का एंड 1 or 2 days that red thing was on is to be hand on his hand. So he's now but those were the days he was walking all the way.
Now, these were some of the observations you made during 1951 Upanishad yajna.
Yes.
Can you tell me about Shushila Mudaliarji
Yes,
who played a major role?
Yes, she played a very, very major role. And because of Sushila Mudaliar only we came to know. Those days the Rastha Peth was full of Naidus and Mudaliars only.
Okay.
Then Iyers and Iyengars have come. So there is a Sardar Mudaliar road. And at the Sardar Mudaliar residence, even M.S. Lakshmi, Supalakshmi, she came and gave her recital also. That I heard. But at that time I was not knowing anything much about classical singing and all. But Sushila Mudaliar did a wonderful work. And because of Sushila Mudaliar, though we were engaged, we used to go to Gurudev's place where he used to. So बाद में ऐसे ही हमको गुरुदेव को हमेशा देखते रहना ऐसे होता. In those days also. So his coming time, his going back time, कहाँ जाते हैं, कहाँ रहते हैं. I can show you that house also or the area where he was staying. So I still remember that he had a small trunk. Those days only the steel trunks used to be there. That to be there. Whosoever used to meet him, he used to put their addresses in that, and that to be perfectly arranged A, B, C, D like that. Mr. Naidu has come. So Naidu. Oh, step used to be there behind the end. So he used to collect everybody's address, those who used to come there. And finally he used to send them the Yajna Prasad. So this is with that small trunk, and now you know his correspondence. But this is Tamil Raja? So this is what I can remember of those days, and the very important thing which I still remember is the chanting of this Akhanda Kirtan.
Yeah, you said.
So that's correct. Everybody used to come for 1 hour, he used to chant this. The second man is to come when he start chanting, he is to go. So those days it was cyclo style, not like Xerox or anything. So cyclo style copies is to put. So day in and day out it was there. So generally people never used to give the night 2 to 4 time. Night 2 to 4, who will come? And those days, the cycle was a luxury those days.
Okay.
But Gurudev many a times when that he used to come between that time and do Akhanda Kirtan and go.
2 to 4.
2 to 4. Between that means
2 a.m. to
2
4
to 3 or 3 to 4. If it is blank in the midnight or after the midnight, he used to come sometime.
Okay. Now, this is the first yajna which
the
you have.
First yajna is another very important highlight I want to tell you. That it was 1951. So 48 only we got the freedom. And still that feeling was there.
47.
And Hindu-Muslim jagda bhi tha, because that was their policy, divide and rule. There used to be always riots in Bombay, what I remember in childhood. But 51 was not so much time. Another thing, Christianity was there. One of the sentences in his first lecture that I want to convert Hindu into Hindu. That I still remember. That is first. Then he had a procession throughout the Pune city, especially from the temple, from Apollo Talkies. Then there is a cantonment area, which is a totally Anglo-Indian Christian families. And then through Muslim area, that is Bhavani Peth and all, it came to the temple. I was a part of that procession.
How long did it take?
I tell you, I can't just tell you, but it took a very long time. They say more than 2 hours. Because we went all on foot, chanting Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna. There, one incident which I remember, that when we went to, now it is known as the Mahatma Gandhi Street. Those days it was known as the Main Street. In cantonment area, that is the army area, the East Street, Main Street and all those used to be there. So this was the Main Street. So there when we were going in the temple, Gurudev was sitting in an open car and we were chanting and going. So at one place, those people over there, merchants, अपना जो basket रहता है ना फूल का जो round वाला, they kept the rose petals into that. And that basket was closed like this. This side and that side, the building who is standing in the system, they pulled a string. And all those petals fell on Gurudev when he is carved in there.
Okay.
So this is a good incident. But the further thing is very important. Gurudev got down from the car. He asked who has done this. He has congratulated them. And then he came and sat in the car. And the procession started. That is, see, these are the tiny little things which I still remember. And there also I want to mention about this Pune again. There also he used to have Homakunda and all Homa Yajna, Ganges sprinkling water and all these things. The typical way of his tying that kerchief and all these things. He used to look majestic.
That first yajna itself, that
yes. Havana was there, this Ganges sprinkling.
Gurudakshina was there at that
I don't remember.
I heard Gurudev's talks would be transcribed immediately and would
yes,
be given
immediately.
the next
Yes,
day.
and cyclostyle copies used to be given. And that's how our prasad pustikas were in the beginning.
Okay.
My father used to receive those prasad because this Akhanda Kirtan was in 329 Rastha Peth, Madrasi Dharmashala. So on that address, many times I found that Gurudev's handwriting used to be there. And those booklets my father used to send me when I was in the Air Force. But I never knew that
it will have a historical importance. So, Narendra ji, you played a major role in Chinchwad. So, but what were your first early memories with Pujya Gurudev?
First memories were actually as a child. Just as Amma has mentioned that we were too young that time to understand anything. But we used to sit in the gallery and watch. So just for my father, as it was oratory of Chinmayananda, for me it was his looks, his appearance, and that beard, flowing beard, the eyes, and that sense of humor. Maybe we didn't catch the jokes also that time. But I couldn't believe that this is some spiritual talk and people are just giggling and laughing away. For 1.5 hours, 5,000, 6,000 people sitting there. And his eyes no doubt were hypnotic. His voice, the tone and all the drama he used to make while speaking. And that time I remember he didn't wear kurta, he used to be bare chest with uparana like that. So that was a different kind of look we used to have. Then slowly we found interest in that. I started listening, then at the stage making notes.
Which
maybe when I reached my 10th standard, 9th standard like that. then I could understand a few things, make notes. Meanwhile, because we had Balavihar background at home, so I picked up from Balavihar few things.
But have you felt that they were forcing you to attend Balavihar or taking to Gurudev?
No, never. Never, because Balavihar became like a sport activity for us.
Okay.
And basically, if you go by the traditional Balavihar way, if I look back now and even the present Balavihar that my daddy conducts, it takes some liberty. We don't fall in the strict discipline of that Balavihar way it is to be conducted. And that time Gurudev had not given any guidelines for Balavihar. Children coming to, that's why he said, I remember him saying somewhere that it is a Balavihar, it is a garden.
Garden, yes.
Let the children open up.
Okay.
So our Balavihar, as my daddy mentioned, we had Christians, Muslims, Buddhists.
This?
Oh yeah, non-Buddha, the Nava-Buddha. All those types of boys and girls, my friends who played on the ground were here. And
so you would bring all them?
Yes, we would bring, they also got attracted. Then there was a prasad attraction. Every time Amma used to prepare every Balavihar, there used to be new prasad. No chocolates. She used to prepare typical South Indian some dishes sometimes, and all that should would be distributed. So that Balavihar was never not a punishment or a imposition for me.
It was
never.
a joy.
It was a joy. Then through Balavihar we also staged dramas. Through Balavihar we had sports activities. Through Balavihar we had picnics. We visited some pilgrim centers.
Okay.
So that was just we didn't feel it was odd at all. It was just an upbringing for us.
Okay.
Which we didn't realize that time. We thought it's part of our Naidu family activity. And we were a part
like,
of it.
you know, regular prayers.
Yes,
the
just like that.
was one regular
thing. We look forward to it. We liked, Sadhana and I were very enthusiastic about preparing. Balavihar people, before they came, we put the carpets, we arranged for Bhai's chair. So all that we used to do. Keep Guru that photo, Krishna's photo, something like that. All that we used to do. As we grew, when he was busy sometimes because of his work, then we took up the Balavihar also.
You know, my way of celebrating my birthday was I used to prefer meeting Gurudev or whoever is in the ashram or nearby at that time.
Okay.
So it so happened that my birthday was over in August, but Abhi came to know that Gurudev is coming to the ashram in September. So I said to my mother, why not go and meet him? And so it was in the night he was supposed to come from the airport. And we were all sitting in Sandipani drawing rangolis and doing all sorts of things, decorating the whole thing for him to arrive. And he had just come from, and you know his style, when he used to come from outside, he'll sit and rub his eyes and do all those things. So he was sitting in this chair and doing Krishna, 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 and he had not even spoken to anybody yet. And he just opened his eyes, and right in the door in front, I was standing there, and mommy with me. So you have come, he said, you know, and everybody here, they were shocked, who is talking to? And I didn't know what to do. He did that. So obviously I walked in. And then he just embraced me. And so everybody just watching, you know, what's happening.
That was the best hug he must have got.
4 నిమిషాలనే పట్టుకున్నారు అట్లా. ఆమె మొండి చేసింది, నేను లేకపోతే ఇంటికే రాను ఇవాళ స్వామీజీ నాతో మాట్లాడకపోతే అట్లా చెప్పి అన్న బేబీ అట్లా అనకు, ఇంతమందిలో మనకు దర్శనం ఎట్లా. శివరాంజీ ఉన్నారు చూడండి, కాఫీ ఇస్తారు స్వామీజీ అంతా ఆయన చూస్తారు. ఆయన మమ్మల్ని ఊరికే గుర్తుపట్టేవాళ్ళు ఆశ్రమం పోయి. ఏంటమ్మా అంటే, అన్న ఇట్లా చేస్తుంది శివరాంజీ అంటే, మీరు ఎట్లా చేయండి అమ్మా, లోపలికి కూడా వెళ్ళకండి, బయట కూడా వెళ్ళిపోకండి, గడప దగ్గర ఎంతమంది వెళ్ళిపోంటుంటే మేము గడప దగ్గరనే ఉన్నాం. అది కళ్ళు తెరవగానే ఇవి కనబడ్డాయి.
And that day actually I wanted to ask him some question. So I knew in this crowd no one is going to allow me to talk. So I had written it on a paper. So the moment he hugged me, I took that chance. You know, I did pranam and I said, Swamiji, I just want to ask you something. You can answer me later. Just keep this chit with you. And I gave it to him. He didn't even look at it. He opened the drawer and put it inside. And so I started walking off that he will answer me later. He held my hand. So I stopped. He took a piece of paper from there, wrote something, folded it and gave it to me. And that was the answer to my question.